The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
We all know a crisis is coming. What's going to happen when disaster strikes? Are you prepared to feed your family? I don't know about you, but I'm sure not counting on the government to help me. In fact, they may be behind disappearing food stockpiles all over the country. And I've got the proof. Just a few days ago, FEMA went directly to my supplier and tried to buy up my entire stockpile of high-quality survival food. It sounds crazy, but I'll show you the exact letter they sent in a minute. Revealing FEMA's plot could land me in hot water, but I think you deserve to know exactly what they're doing. Sounds fair, right? I'm about to show you undeniable proof that FEMA is on the hunt for as much survival food as they can grab in 24 hours, and I've got to tell you, it's really disturbing. You can imagine that they were willing to pay a pretty penny, the kind of money small businesses dream about in an economy like this. Money that would probably come with a nice fat government contract. The fact is, they must know something we don't. My first thought was that they must be trying to control the supply. Control the food supply and you control the people. Does that make sense to you? But then I dug deeper, and I think the situation is even worse. I think that FEMA knows something we don't and is worried that they see a full-scale disaster about to hit. And I think I found the factors that'll trigger it. Before I talk about these warning signs, you need to see the actual letter FEMA sent my supplier so you can see the proof with your own eyes and make up your own mind. It's been all over the internet, Facebook, and even some big radio programs like Alex Jones picked up this story. It seems like everyone is just plain shocked that FEMA would send a letter like this. Here's what happened. FEMA wrote to my partner Matt over at the warehouse and wanted to know exactly how many Well, maybe I should just let Matt show you the proof since he was the one who received the letter.
Thanks, Frank. Well, it was kind of crazy to get a letter from FEMA. I don't mean to sound paranoid, but FEMA is asking some questions that make me pretty nervous. Just look at the actual letter. The FEMA Department of Homeland Security demanded to know how much emergency food we can deliver immediately, how many food kits we've got on hand. Remember, with the government's power to seize supplies in a, quote, state of emergency, I don't think I want to answer this. If we can ship dedicated truckloads, that means a truck heading straight for FEMA with nothing but survival food just for them, by the pallet, and how many pallets we could cram in each truck. And the strangest question of all, if we worked like madmen, how much emergency food could we produce in 24 hours? I gotta tell you, Frank, I'm real concerned. This letter is proof that FEMA wants our emergency survival food. They don't want anyone to know it, and they want to take immediate delivery. And let's not forget the most important part of this. Why the sudden urgency? What do they know that we don't?
I hear you, Matt. From the sounds of it, something big could be about to happen. And it's no wonder that our food is literally flying off the shelves. Makes sense, doesn't it? This is truly an urgent situation, but don't worry. You should know that FEMA and DHS won't get one single emergency food kit from us. Why? Because we don't believe that these critical emergency food kits should be in the hands of the government, stored in some secret warehouse, and with the rest of us left with table scraps in a crisis. Because we understand that without this food, many patriots will be downright helpless in a crisis. Because our goal is to get this life-saving food into the hands of people like you and me as quick as possible. Sounds good, right? But with FEMA competing for the exact meals you are, there's no time to waste, and here's why. Like my buddy Matt told me, even though we decided not to sell to FEMA, it's only a matter of time before they find some other company who will. And when they do, it'll almost certainly create a shortage of the raw ingredients that we use, especially because we refuse to replace our high-quality made-in-America food ingredients with foreign stuff, raising prices and making some survival food completely unavailable at any price. But that's not the only danger that could snatch your food stockpile out of your hands. Heck, we've had a rush of people taking advantage of this special fire sale offer to grab their food kits to protect their family. Now, to be blunt, this is a first-come, first-serve opportunity, and because of all the controversy, I cannot guarantee supply forever. Which means if we run out before you have a chance to claim your kit, I'm sorry, but you'll just have to wait and hope we can get more in before something really bad hits. Over the last few weeks, my warehouse has been shipping out more truckloads of food packed to the brim than I've ever seen, which is great if you've already put your order in. But the bad news is, if you're just hearing about these food kits for the first time, then you're already behind and need to act fast before they're all gone. Fortunately, as soon as FEMA said they wanted to take all my food, I put in an extra large order for more food in anticipation of whatever the government is so urgently preparing for. Our production machines are working around the clock right now to meet the increased demand. So depending on how much food you need, you can get my Food4Patriots kits for as low as $1.39 per serving. And we're doing everything we can to accelerate packing and shipping so we can rush your kit to you as soon as you order it. I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can. I hope we can help patriots all across the United States feel protected in case of disaster for years to come. But here's why this fire sale could end in a matter of days. First, Matt could run out of the raw ingredients needed to get these kits produced. I'd be shocked if FEMA stopped looking for suppliers just because we turned them down, and there are companies a whole lot bigger than us that can buy up all the ingredients. Second, and I hope the government never gets to this point, part of me thinks that FEMA might have wanted to know how much food we've got in stock in case they ever decided to take it. The fact is, they could walk in and seize every single kit of food we've got in our warehouse at the drop of a hat. All it would take is President Obama declaring a state of emergency. And with the way FEMA wanted to know how many meals we could ship out in 24 hours, it makes me think they know something that we don't. That brings us to the third reason this offer could grind to a halt. I can't tell the future, but from everything I've seen, the U.S. could be on the brink of a major disaster. If I'm wrong, life will go on as normal, and I'll happily admit that I was off my rocker. But if I'm right, this could force our friends and neighbors into FEMA camps. Good people who just didn't prepare. Let's jump right in. First up is Food Crisis Warning Sign number 1. Communist food brainwashing is infecting America. No one wants to say this, but everywhere you look, you can see signs that there are freeloading people embracing the idea of a few hardworking patriots supplying all the food and the labor in this country, and the rest sitting back and getting a handout. There are more people on welfare than in any other time in the history of the United States. Even during the Great Depression, just 700,000 people were on the books to get that kind of government help. Obviously, FEMA knows this and feels like it's their job to take care of these people. The fact of the matter is, there are just too many people who want to rely on the government for food, water, and money, and they're pushing the rest of the United States to the brink of a food crisis. Now, here's the thing. These numbers don't tell the whole story. States have figured out that to keep their food stamp numbers low, they can switch people to disability. In 1961, the main reason people couldn't work was heart disease or stroke. Today, it's back pain. In fact, in places like Hale County, Alabama, as many as 1 out of 4 people are on disability. That means while some people really need disability, the freeloading mindset has infected a lot of freeloaders who could actually be working. And it's all being paid for by the Americans who are working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. If a disaster hits and FEMA hasn't found someone to get a massive food stockpile from, it could spark riots and looting just like Katrina. Or when the government's piggy bank runs out and the handouts dry up, we could be dealing with a food mob 47 million people strong. That's like being invaded by a country the size of Colombia. A food mob that size could strip shelves bare across the United States. and seize control of the whole system. The government has built up too many people who are waiting on them for food. They obviously know it, or they wouldn't be asking for so many millions of meals. But by trying to keep control of America's food, the government has accidentally created food crisis warning sign number 2. Anti-hoarding law sparks food riots. Not too long ago, President Obama reinstated a radical executive order called the National Defense Resources Preparedness Act. It lets the government seize and redistribute food whenever they declare a state of emergency. But most Americans have no idea this even exists. It was slyly released on a Friday afternoon, and traditional media said almost nothing about it. Some people have tried to say it isn't a big deal. Their argument is executive orders that give the government special powers in a state of emergency are normal. Roosevelt, JFK, and Bush all had similar powers. But if you think about the fact that the government is banning guns, stockpiling ammo, and putting more and more surveillance on the U.S. people, this executive order becomes an obvious power grab that will set the government up to take your food. Honestly, when my supplier Matt got that letter from FEMA, one of the thoughts I had was that they could be scoping him out in case they ever needed to seize his supplies. When I look at these elements, plus all the other threats like terrorist attacks, food poisoning, and all-out war between North Korea, Iran, Syria, or even China, I realized I had to make a decision for me and my family. A decision you'll have to make too. FEMA is preparing. They are hoarding ammo and emergency food. That means you can either sit by and wait in a government food line, or you can gather your own covert food stockpile to keep your independence. See, most people are going to wait and hope the government can protect them. They're willing to give up all their freedoms and independence for the hope they won't have to provide for their own food needs. Now, that may be what millions of Americans choose, but there's another group of people who aren't going to take this line down. They're preparing for this food crisis and they're not at all happy that FEMA might do the same thing they did with the ammo and buy up all the survival food supplies. Are you going to be one of them? From what I can see, the government knows that if you control food, you control the people. After all, there's no way to live without food and water, which is exactly why you need to have your own personal food stockpile. But here's the catch. If you stockpile the wrong foods, you could be setting your family up to starve. It sounds harsh, but the truth is most people are giving themselves a false sense of security. Maybe it's by buying MREs with a 5-year shelf life. Depending on where you buy them from, they can be nearly expired. Getting gross survival foods that are tough to stomach and so high in salt, MSG, and preservatives you could clog your arteries and get yourself sick. Or simply buying the wrong foods and leaving a critical hole in your meal plan, which means your family can become malnourished. The bottom line is if you make any of the 1,000,001 mistakes while you're designing your food stockpile, your family won't just pay for it with unhealthy eating. It can cripple their hope. Imagine thinking you've got an entire stockpile of food just to find it crawling with maggots, roaches, and rats, and having to walk up to your spouse and kids and tell them that your plan failed. A lot of people already doubt folks like us who believe in being prepared. They think having food ready for a disaster is silly or even a little crazy. And if you make these food stockpile mistakes, you'll just prove them right. This is just too serious not to do something about it. You've seen the evidence, and if you're anything like me, you're probably racking your mind trying to come up with the best way to make sure your family isn't forced to go hungry when a food crisis hits. Well, I decided to stop worrying. I started looking around to figure out what our options are. After all, a garden is great, but we just didn't have time. And if a crisis strikes, you need food right then and there, not months after the plants have grown and are ready to eat. Stockpiling MREs seemed like a good idea until I found out how bad those things are for you. Just ask any soldier and they'll tell you they're tough on your body and should only be eaten for a short period of time in combat. And waiting for the government to give me and my family a handout in a disaster just wasn't an option. The only thing I could find that made much sense was a long-term food stockpile. Now, cans are too much work. You got to rotate them regularly. They go bad. And that means wasting a whole lot of food or having to put in quite a bit of work. So when I came across the long-term survival food suppliers, I thought I'd struck gold. The food lasts up to 25 years and it'd be quick and an easy way to feed my family of 4 for 90 days, no problem. But there's a catch. They wanted me to shell out more than $5,000 just to get started. Honestly, I could not understand why it was so expensive. There's just no way most people can afford something like that. And I knew that if I couldn't find a way to get food for myself and my family, we'd be at the mercy of our neighbors and Uncle Sam. So I called up Matt, a fellow small business owner that I'm proud to call a friend. He let me in on the surprising truth about this so-called survival food. The long-term food suppliers had consumers by the belt and were jacking up prices by turning it into a name brand game. Almost all these, quote, unique food supply companies were selling the exact same thing, but they charge ridiculously high prices for 2 reasons. One, they're endorsed by some big-name celebrity who probably has paid a pretty penny to do it. 2, they got fancy brand name packaging, which means they can charge more for the exact same product, just like in a grocery store or a car dealership. See, people are getting conned into paying top dollar by buying name brand. Just like it being more expensive at any other store, it's more expensive here. Even before the FEMA letter, Matt and I had decided to do what we had to get this food out to normal people who want old-fashioned American food at reasonable prices. We've put together our own survival food kit containing the cream of the crop food. I wanted the absolute best tasting meals that provided the most nutrition for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and was useful for the long haul. That means they had to be conveniently packed in airtight containers that would be easy to move and store for up to 25 years. Once we ran our first test package, I knew we had something nobody else did. American-made food that I'd be happy to feed my own kids. The food was delicious, easy to store long term, and best of all is packaged right here in the US of A. Plus, it didn't have any of those harmful chemicals or genetically modified ingredients, no MSG, and no Frankenfood. But to be honest, we were worried that this was too good to be true. After putting together my dream package, I had to give myself a reality check. I was ready to be disappointed when I slowly asked, so, can we buy this cheap? The short answer was no. Here's why. The survival food we make for you don't cut any corners. You'll understand what I mean when you see how your meals are made. First, we take 100% non-GMO fruits and veggies as a starting point. Our food is made in America. Next, we combine these top-quality ingredients using prize-winning recipes. Many of the recipes we use have won independent taste tests. Finally, we seal up the food in convenient pouches that make it easy for you to prepare. And here is another of the big things my buddy Matt does differently. Some manufacturers freeze-dry their food, which is hideously expensive for you, while other manufacturers use the cheaper rapid dehydration method that sucks all the water out, but also pulls nutrients and flavor with it. My meals are made with our unique low-heat dehydration method. So the flavor and nutrition stays locked in, and it lasts every bit as long as freeze-drying without costing you an arm and a leg. Can you see now why our food has been called a stockpiler's dream? But there's one more critical step before your food is finished. It takes a $150,000 machine to package these meals to the highest industry standards. The way it works is the space-age Mylar pouches are blasted clean with CO2 gas, and then the container is packed to the brim with a hefty helping of your delicious food. This gets any leftover oxygen out so food won't spoil, and in fact is guaranteed for an amazing 25 years of shelf life. See how much better that is for you and your family? The fact is, you get what you pay for, and you can't expect this kind of quality to come cheap. Now, here's the problem. If you're like most people, you don't have that kind of cash lying around. But Matt and I found a way to make this work. We buy in bulk. Now, just to give you some perspective, a bulk order costs tens of thousands of dollars, and is a decade of food for my family of 4. My first thought was, we just don't need that much food. But I figured if I could get this video out to people like you, you'd want to grab the same discount I got and would claim your own food package. That way, I wouldn't be stuck with a big bill for more food than we can ever eat. Everyone who has gotten the Food for Patriots kit has been ecstatic with the long-term packaging, taste, and how easy it is to store. And now that FEMA's come knocking, it's given me a big reason to ship as many of these life-saving meals out to people like you and me. Just to remind you, it's 100% first come, first served basis. We're going to offer this fire sale bulk pricing as long as we can, but due to the run on survival food across the country, I cannot guarantee supply beyond the next 24 hours. So if you leave this video, you lose your spot in the line, and you risk not being able to get your package because it may be snatched up by someone else. Sorry. Look, I'd rather you get your own personal food stockpile than see DHS hoard them. Since these are clearing out fast, I'll be ordering as many as I can. But if this new FEMA demand drains up all the raw ingredients, there may be no way of restocking for a long while. But here's the bright side. If it turns out you're too late or your package was already picked up by someone else, it might be for the best. After all, this isn't some flashy name brand product. This is survival food for patriots, made by patriots. In fact, we've cut out all the extra packaging you normally pay extra for and instead are using high-efficiency Mylar. That's the same stuff NASA uses on spacesuits to keep your food perfect for the next 25 years. It helps us save money and get these meals to you faster, but it means that there's no pretty packaging or celebrity endorsement. They're just sealed up solid to keep for the next 25 years and be as nutritious as the day you got them. Sounds good, right? But before you decide whether or not you're going to claim your package, let me explain what you're getting in your Food for Patriots kit. First is delicious food that you can prepare in 3 simple steps. You don't want to have to worry about cooking complex recipes when you're stuck in a disaster. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes with no hassle. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. Can you picture how easy this is? It's so simple, even kids can make them. And don't worry, you'll get a whole slew of choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner so you don't get stuck eating the same thing day in and day out. Second, you get my guaranteed disaster-proof packaging. I may not have used showy packaging for expensive branding, but I did make sure it's military-grade, sturdy stuff and can stand up to the crazy things that happen in a crisis. This food has a shelf life of up to 25 years, so you have complete peace of mind for the long term. I've used Mylar pouches, the same material used in NASA spacesuits. This means you'll keep all the air, moisture, and light out of the package. It'll also keep the food nutritionally sound and tasting great. So when you need your food stockpile, it'll be guaranteed to be as fresh as the day you bought it. Can you see how valuable this will be for you? Third, you get foods jam-packed with nutritional value. Since I had a chance to go direct to the supplier to build this kit, I was able to throw out all the filler and poor quality ingredients other guys stuff into their meals. All the food you'll receive is at the tip top of the long-term food reserve industry. But here's the other important part. You don't have to settle for smaller serving sizes for kids. Some people use kids' meals to skimp on the amount of food they give you. In Food for Patriots, kids get a full adult-sized portion without getting charged extra. And fourth, you get an easy-to-store package that takes up minimal space. Nobody wants to cram their house full of clunky food packages. So many food storage containers are ultra bulky and come in a slew of awkward shapes and sizes, which makes it difficult to discreetly store food reserves in the average American home. I've selected the most compact kits I could find so you can store them without any extra hassle. They're sturdy, waterproof, and stack easily. Since we both know a major food emergency could strike any time, these critical characteristics will give you the instant peace of mind when your food package arrives. No more worrying about what you'd have to do or having to rely on the government. Heck, you'll have the exact same stuff they wanted to buy. But the big question most people have is, What kind of food will I get to eat? Since nobody likes eating the same thing over and over, I've picked some of my favorites to give you variety. Here's a list of a few of the choices. Mountain Man granola, apple orchard oatmeal, Granny's home-style potato soup, blue ribbon cheesy chicken rice. My kids actually beg me to make this one all the time. Old 49ers hearty chili, creamy beef stroganoff, Frank's 5-star minestrone. Can you tell this is my favorite? But I've got a confession to make about this delicious food. It won't always be this cheap. In fact, imagine what will happen when you see the headlines, "Food prices skyrocketing, grain shortage forces farms to close and cows starve." Since the Food for Patriots package is made from honest-to-goodness ingredients produced by farmers here in the U.S. of A., when a crisis hits, it'll automatically skyrocket the prices of this kit. Farms will shut down and their livestock will go hungry. Grain shortages will drive bread to $10, $25, even $100 per loaf. Hell, in Germany after World War I, a loaf of bread cost 3 billion marks. And stores will be hit by angry urban mobs. Just think, people stampede for toys on sale at Walmart. When they and their children are starving because they didn't prepare, mobs are almost certain. Are you following this? Now, the last thing I want happening is someone to give up their chance to claim their Food for Patriots package because they couldn't afford it. The fact is, food stockpiles shouldn't only be for well-off Americans. I know most people couldn't afford to spend $5,000, $10,000, or even $30,000 on a stockpile, which is why the biggest question a lot of people probably have right now is, how much does it cost? Honestly, this was a big issue for me and might be a deal breaker for you. I feel like you can't put a price on food independence and the peace of mind that gives. Now, I know every family is different. There's no one-size-fits-all survival food solution. So I've put together different Food for Patriots kits based on servings to feed one adult, and you can customize your kit to keep your family healthy and happy. No need to worry about stretching portions to feed a larger family or being forced to order more than you really need. And unlike most of the suppliers out there, I don't think you should have to break the bank to afford the most basic level of food security. So I'm not charging $100 for this. You see how this is a perfect solution for you? Click the button below to claim your kit now. Just to make this a complete no-brainer for you to grab your kit right now, I'm also going to add 4 free bonuses to sweeten the pot. Free bonus number 1. Top 10 items sold out after a crisis. In this report, you'll learn the 10 items you absolutely need to hoard. If you miss this, you'll be forced to go without them in a crisis. And you should know this is an updated list, so if you think you've seen these before, think again. You'll also learn how to snag them on the cheap, store them securely, and pump out every ounce of nutrition they have to offer. Free bonus number 2, the Water Survival Guide. Look, without clean water, you can't prepare a scrap of food. You got to have this to complete your stockpile. Not to mention the fact dehydration can hit in as little as 7 hours and turn a full-grown man into a whimpering child. So don't be stuck relying on water sources everyone knows about. This down and dirty guide will show you desperate times only water sources to keep your family from going thirsty. It'll also walk you through the basics of water storage, how to find a source, and tricks to easily grab water in an emergency. Free bonus number 3, the Survival Garden Guide. A long-term food stockpile works best when you can add in some succulent and well-preserved fruits and veggies. In this guide, you get the lowdown on outdoor gardens, indoor gardens, freezing, and long-term storage. This is like food insurance, so your family can eat fresh-picked produce or delicious home-canned delicacies even in a disaster. Free bonus number 4, how to cut your grocery bills in half. It's sad to see how much most Americans are forced to spend every time they go to the grocery store. Odds are you've seen an increase in spending too. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. To help out, I'm going to show you my down and dirty tricks to getting the best deal. But let me warn you, couponing is only one part of this bill shredding strategy, so pay close attention to what's inside. And when you click the button below, you'll see a couple of special deals I just added so you can get an even longer term supply of survival food for as little as $1.39 per serving. This is what I personally recommend for the ultimate in food security, plus some extra special bonus gifts that aren't available to everyone. And just to show you how serious I am, I'm offering an outrageous double guarantee. Guarantee number one is a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. If, for any reason, you're not satisfied with your Food for Patriots kit, just return it within 60 days of purchase, and I'll refund 100% of your purchase price. If you try it and decide it's not as delicious and nutritious as I promised, you can have your money back for any reason or no reason whatsoever. That way, there's absolutely no risk for you. Guarantee number two is an unheard of 300% money-back guarantee. If you open your Food for Patriots meal anytime in the next 25 years and find your food is spoiled or gone bad, you can return your entire Food for Patriots stockpile and I will triple your money back. Does that sound fair to you? That's how confident I am that this food will remain just as delicious and nutritious for the next 25 years as it is on the day you buy it. It may sound crazy to offer this double guarantee, but to be honest, I'm not really worried about it. Here's why. I'm so confident you're going to see the value in your Food for Patriots kit as soon as you have it in your hands. You'll want to keep it and enjoy every bite of the delicious food. But whether you choose to start dipping into your Food for Patriots stockpile right away to stretch your food dollars, or you decide to keep it under lock and key so you're ready for any kind of crisis, you need to know one thing. By claiming your Food for Patriots kit, you made the decision not just to get food to feed your family in a disaster. You've made the decision to get peace of mind. Can you picture how good it's going to feel to have this security and independence? Heck, if you've got an elderly friend or family member nearby, you can get a kit for them, so you don't have to worry if they're eating or not in a disaster. Now, a last reminder, don't worry, there's no pressure to claim your Food for Patriots kit. In fact, if you don't want it, you can step aside. No hard feelings. There are plenty of other people who are dead set on preparing right now, and they see that with all the uncertainty and warning signs, time is running out. But if you're serious about your family stockpile and want to get real food independence and security, click on the button you see below this video. You'll be glad you did. This is about peace of mind, knowing that you and your family are well protected in the case of food shortages and natural disasters. Sounds good, right? Click on the button below and get your Food for Patriots stockpile rushed to you before they're all gone. And then rest assured knowing that you'll be able to feed your family well into the future no matter what happens. Don't you deserve this? To get your Food for Patriots kit rushed to you at this special price, plus the 4 free bonus reports, click the big button below this video. If you decide to claim your package, though, there's something you should know about. It's a danger I call 25-year stockpile greed. When a food crisis strikes, there are really two groups of people: the people who prepared and the people who didn't. If you've watched this video so far, my guess is you're someone who's going to prepare. But let me warn you, the rest of the world may very well be greedy for your stockpile, especially now that we know that FEMA wants to hoard these meals too. It's easy to imagine. If they run out of food for their children, they'll be willing to take anyone's food to get them fed. And unless you have a covert stockpile, your name could very well make it on that list. To keep your Food for Patriots order under the radar, we ship it in normal, unmarked packaging. There are no flashy logos, advertisements, or emblems on the outside. Not even the postman will know what you're getting. Click the button below this video to get started. Don't leave empty-handed. You can get a kit with 3 square meals a day for as little as $1.39 per serving. Are you ready to get started? Claim your Food for Patriots package now. Click the button below. You can get your Food for Patriots kit in just a moment. But first, I want you to picture this in your mind. It's 9:07 a.m. and the you-know-what has just hit the fan. People are panicking. It's all over the radio and TV. A news anchor comes on the TV screen and in a shaky voice says, "We are in a state of emergency." I repeat, we are now in a state of emergency. The 42.7 million freeloaders spoon-fed by big government are marching in the streets. There are rumors of looting. In fact, there's a mob at your local grocery store. Like a swarm of locusts, the mob completely cleans out the grocery store in less than 2 hours, leaving the shelves completely bare. Panic is spreading, and it's quickly becoming every man for himself. You're safe at home with your family, thank goodness, but now your family's looking at you. What's going to happen, they ask. And then your spouse pulls you close and whispers in your ear, what are we going to eat? The look of fear in your family's eyes hits you like a punch in the gut. What are you going to tell your family? What have you done to prepare? Look, you come to a fork in the road and it's entirely up to you which way you go. If you don't take action to get your food stockpile right now, you'll be in the same boat as the brainwashed masses who think everything is fine. And if a crisis hits and your family asks, what are we going to eat? Your mouth will go dry and you'll feel powerless. But what if you decide right now to secure your food stockpile instead? Just imagine how much better you'll feel right away. And if a crisis hits and your family asks, what are we going to eat? You'll calmly reassure them that they're safe and that they'll have plenty to eat. Your food stockpile will be a source of comfort and strength in the storm. Your family will think you're a hero because you will be a hero. Can't you just picture how that'll feel? Listen, I can't predict the future. I don't know exactly when or how a crisis will hit, but from everything I see, it could be soon and it could be a big one. That's why I really want you to get your food stockpile now. Click the Get Started button below. You'll be glad you did. Remember, this is delicious food, good for 25 years of storage. So even if I'm wrong and everything turns out fine, then you'll still come out ahead with your food stockpile, because if you don't need it, just eat it. Claim your Food for Patriots package now. Click the button below.